welcome to Absolutely Not. I'm your host, Katrina Stroll. My pronouns are they, she, he, and I cannot thank y'all enough for being here today. I am so grateful to everyone who keeps showing up and being a part of this growing community. Thank y'all so much. Real quick, I know a lot of y'all might have found me via LinkedIn, but I'm developing safer spaces for me elsewhere. So be sure to follow me on my other social media platforms and to subscribe to my newsletter. Both of those links can be found in the show notes. Thank you. The keywords for this episode are mental health, disabled, and mindfulness. I encourage y'all to look up the definitions of these words and compare them to the definitions you carry with you on a daily basis. If you need help comparing, please let me know. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp allows you to connect with one of 24,000 licensed therapists in a safe and private online environment. You pay just a low flat fee for unlimited therapy with your therapist. Visit www.betterhelp.com/absolutelynot for more information and to get 10% off your first month. This link can also be found in the show notes. Today's episode is titled, Your Mind Matters. Yay, thank you. And that amazing message is brought to you by our amazing special guest, Susan Gadegone, she, her. Susan is a mental health writer, peer counselor, and lives with bipolar disorder. Her passion is to educate people about what it is like to live with mental health experiences and to spread the word that you can still live a life you want to live despite what life's struggles hand to you. Ooh. She identifies as Tongan. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting to always talk about mental health in these kind of spaces because while I feel like it's becoming more of a popular topic to talk about, it still is a topic that a lot of people actually don't feel comfortable talking about. So I love being able to talk about my experiences with mental health to help others and just kind of get the word across that it is possible to live a life that you want to live with it.
Oh, and I love that messaging. There's a younger version of myself who did not think that it was possible to live with the diagnoses that I have. Have you ever felt that before, Susan?
I have. When I first got diagnosed with bipolar, I really felt like it was a death sentence. And I think I had never felt that kind of feeling before. And it was unsettling. It was a feeling like, just because I have difficulties with what's happening in my thoughts, like friends left me, some family members didn't quite understand what I was going through. And it was interesting. All of a sudden, some of the support that I thought was there just kind of fell apart. So I definitely have felt like that before. Yeah.
Okay, Susan, the fuck. Thank you so much for being very honest about what it looks like when you get diagnosis and you share it with people who you thought were very near and dear to you. Are any of those people you kind of talked about, have they come back afterwards, or are they near and dear once again?
Some friends haven't come back, and I've just told myself, you know what, friends are supposed to come back. Friends are supposed to be supportive and look at you in the way that you want to be looked at, no matter what you've gone through. And so with those friends that haven't come back, that's what I say. I'm in a way thankful for that. And family members and other friends who have come back, they have come back and they've actually asked me, like, what do I need to know to be supportive of you and make you feel loved and understood. And that was where I was like, yeah, this is where it's supposed to be at. No matter what struggles I had gone through, that was when I realized these people are needed in my life and are supposed to be there. So of course I've gone through that struggle of wanting people to like me, wanting people to tell me, sorry, I understand what you're going through, but now it's just basically whoever understands what I'm going through, who I am as a person. Bipolar doesn't define me, but how I'm affected by it is what I experience. And if someone can't like understand that or be in that environment, then they're not, then it's fine with me if they're not with me. So that's what I've begun to understand. Yeah.
I love that so much. The setting, the bar, Susan, the bar is high over here. The thing that I wrote down that you said is, this is where it's supposed to be. When I was diagnosed, I had no idea where it was supposed to be. I didn't even know, like you said, you felt like it was a death sentence. I knew nothing about mental health until I was thrown into it. Were you in a similar kind of situation?
I struggled since I was 12 or 13, but undiagnosed. So I knew something was going on with my mental health. I just didn't know what it was. So I think before I was diagnosed, I knew I could tell what bad mental health was looking like. I didn't quite know what good mental health would look like, but that was what I started to understand, that bad mental health was what I was experiencing.
And I think in media and sources and newsletters and articles and everything that we absorb around mental health, it's always depicted from the bad side. It's always depicted as people who are living with our conditions, who are not maintaining them, or who have not seek treatment, or who have not created a life, like you said, with them. Is that why you were so fearful? Is that type of stigma and discrimination? Is that partly why you were so fearful and thought you were given a death sentence?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all these movies out there that depict people with mental health diagnoses, it's scary. They're killing or they're doing something that you don't want to be doing. And I remember being like, that's not me. So why am I being diagnosed with this kind of thing? And so I also remember people being afraid of homeless folks who have mental health, diagnoses going on. And, as I was little, we would always discuss, oh, they're not safe because they have mental illness going on. And so I also associated that with mental illness when I was diagnosed, which is totally wrong. I mean, it should not be that way, but that's what that's what I saw. So yeah, that's pretty much, it did affect me. It did affect me a lot. And it's taken a lot of time to see that I'm not that, and that other people are not that. That is not an accurate depiction of what it is like to live with a mental illness. So yeah.
Thank you. That is not an accurate depiction of what it is like. And let me tell you, that is a vocalized boundary, an internal boundary that you just vocalized. I got to write that down. But where did you learn that boundary from, or where did you learn the strategy in order to say that is not a depiction of me?
I think when you hit so low with depression or being left out or not being recognized as who you are, I felt like I needed to create a boundary so that I could basically survive, that I could live. And because I definitely went through thoughts of not wanting to be here wanting to disappear, and I realized if I want to be here, I'm going to have to set that and tell myself, you're, you're loved, you're here, and you, like, since you were born, you've earned a spot on this earth. So no matter what you've got, what you're going through, you still have a spot to be recognized, to be loved, to be heard, everything. And despite people calling out and saying you're worthless, all of that. So it's definitely hard. Of course, I get those feelings of feeling like not understood. But I do have these times where I know that I'm me, and that's what should matter. That people, we shouldn't be bringing each other down for being people that we really are and truthfully are genuine, authentic individuals. So yeah.
Ooh, Susan, you are good at your job. Which is why I'm so happy that you are doing the work that you're doing. Every fucking time I go into a conversation about mental health, it has nobody that looks like you or I, or who are not as vulnerable as you or I about their mental health journey. And it is disgusting. It is very, very disgusting to me, because this is what it's about. This is what's happening to people every day. That stigma, that discrimination, the tying to certain people, homeless people. Let me tell you something. They're doing that for a reason. They're tying it to certain people for a reason, when it needs to be tied to everybody. This is an everybody thing. Susan, the mental health advocacy that you're doing is amazing work. Why are you doing it?
So actually, it really goes back. So I was adopted, and my birth mother is Tongan, and I've never met her. And I don't really know what kind of person she is, but in my mind, she is this loving individual who had to put my sister and I up for adoption because of her mental health. And so I'm really doing this for her and myself, because I know that when, in the 90s, mental health care was not where it is at now, despite the fact that mental health care definitely needs more improvement. But I really am doing it for individuals like my birth mom, who I don't 100% understand or know the reason why she ended up putting us up for adoption, but I do know she needed the mental health care. And I'm doing that for her and other individuals, because I think a lot of people have this feeling that mental illness is kind of where you should stop your life in a sense, that there is this stop sign that you just stop at, and that there's no kind of green light that you can go any further. And I have always believed that despite your diagnosis, there's always that green light, that it shouldn't stop you from achieving your goals, achieving your dreams. In fact, the experiences that tend to put us down, make us struggle more, make us feel the pain more, are what's going to get us farther in life. And I always feel like I need to spread that word, because it's huge. And I think more people need to hear it. I even need to hear it more and more, because we're often ridiculed with, you're struggling with this, then you're a failure. I can't believe you're not able to handle this, And so I think more people just need to know that when you go through something like a diagnosis of like bipolar disorder, like what I went through, even if you feel a feeling of a death sentence, it's not. It's like this, it's a sign for you that there is life, there's more to life, And I just know that more people need to hear that what they're living with is, there's potential in it. And so That's what I love kind of telling people and spreading the word about. So
Mm, I love that for the people that are listening to this. I love that for them. And I love it for myself too, because this is the type of messaging I hope other people are getting. I love that you talked about the spot in life that we have already earned. We don't need to earn it anymore. And just because we come with different conditions now after diagnosis, doesn't mean that we're less worthy of the spot and that we need to go elsewhere. Susan, how are the people around you, or how have the people around you been able to be supportive in the new conditions that came with your diagnosis?
I I think the people around me have just allowed me to be myself. They've just allowed me to kind of learn my way around bipolar disorder by myself without being like, you should do this, you should do that. It's all been like inner work that I've had to do to get to where I am today. And they've been very supportive with that. I think I've realized that like living with bipolar disorder has been something that has needed to come out of me instead of other people around me. Like the inner work is what made me kind of get to where I am today. And I'm very grateful that the people around me have been like, do what you want to do, go for your dreams. Like they've definitely tried to be like, you should do that, you should do this. But you know, I've I've kind of put down my boundaries, just saying this is where I'm at, this is what I want to do, and I need your support. And people have definitely risen up and given me that support. And they've also risen down, risen up. It's been an adventure for that. Um, but it's definitely people have been supportive. Um, I think it's also a learning experience. I know some of my friends, it's just like a huge learning experience to have someone with a mental health, mental illness um, kind of, they've known me for a long time. And then I come and I have bipolar disorder. It's something that they've learned from. And I think a lot of people should, like, if you have a friend or a family member with a mental illness, to take the opportunity to learn more, to ask questions, and to see that there's more people like them around you. So yeah.
Mhm. And one thing I will tell you is, as soon as I started doing inner work about this and started reaching out, there are so many people with diagnosis in the world. There are so many people. And I created a network and a community about with people, amazing people like you, Susan, who are able to talk more about diagnosis and make me really believe that this is just a normal thing. This is just a normal part of life. I'm still normal. What are some of the ways that people may not have made you feel normal after you got diagnosed?
I, I think one of the things is, because of medication and things like that, I'm more slow at things. So I think some people have pointed that out, that you're more slow, you know, and that has impacted me. Like if if someone says I'm more slow, or you speak too softly, or you're um or you spend so much reflecting, those kind of things are what keep me going. And if someone points that out, it makes me feel more down. um so i think i think I think just pointing out things out to me that I just seem to always pull out and then be like, oh, that's part of bipolar disorder, you know? Like it's not quite, it's hard to explain that that's not defining myself by bipolar disorder, but I'm always if someone says something, I'm always trying to make that link to something that I'm struggling with, which ultimately sometimes um, goes along with depression, anxiety, or stress. And that points back to the bipolar disorder at times. So it's just, it's like pattern, a circle, going round and round. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing those examples of what people have done to kind of make your disorder define you. And I love that you're saying you're not allowing it to define you, so much so that you actually work in mental health and are helping people through their mental health. Could you talk a little bit about how your current position, you're able to do what you love to do and still have your mental health condition?
Yeah. So we call it a peer mentor, but it's you would call it a peer counselor basically. And I work with 18 to 25-year-olds who are just trying to navigate life overall, going from high school to college or going from high school to a new job. I help them, I mentor them, and help them, realize that they matter and that what they're experiencing is valid. So that's what I do on a daily basis. And it can be hard living with a diagnosis and working in the mental health field. And I always remember that what I've experienced, I can use that to help another person. So if I'm helping a youth who has bipolar disorder, I always kind of try and leave myself behind and realize that that person is experiencing what I basically experienced when I was 18 or 19. And so kind of creating a distance to myself when I'm helping another person with bipolar disorder or any mental health experience is what is helpful to me.
And that distance, I mean, that's another boundary right there. Like, I love to hear it that you're creating that distance so that you can help them further along in their journey. And I love it so much. I love that you're also bringing awareness to the other people that can be involved in people's support systems. Because we talk a lot about family, friends, your therapist, but you just said you're a peer mentor. I've heard peer specialist before, I've heard peer support. Are there any other things that people can include in their support systems that are not regularly heard?
I like support systems, like just like people around them or anything. I'm going to mention pets. I have a dog, and that's just having an animal who understands the mannerisms of you, and they can't speak is very powerful. Along with whoever you feel close to, like your partner or family members or friends. Um, I I also get support from music, and I've played violin for 25 years now. And I'm teaching myself how to play piano. So those kind of things, those kind of supports that you don't think of, like teaching yourself how to play piano or teaching yourself how to cook. Those things are big supports. Or even exercise. Those things that getting out outside every day helps you with your mental health and well-being all the time. So.
Thank you so much. These are amazing examples of what we could be using, because we all know mental health therapists and psychiatrists expensive. So we'll get support where we can. But thank you so much for bringing those examples to light. Is there anybody in your support system that you want to shout out specifically on the show?
Yeah, shout out to my twin sister, Christina. Christina Kiki. She's been with me through it all and always makes me laugh and reminds me of who I am inside and outside, and always reminds me that I'm not defined by my struggles. So.
Oh. I love that messaging. I love it so much. Thank you so much for all of the stories and the insights that you have shared with us today. There's somebody out there who probably has recently been diagnosed, or maybe they've been diagnosed for a while and they're thinking, I just can't do this anymore. I will not be able to live the life that I want to the fullest with this diagnosis. What would be the top 3 tips you would share with them about moving forward and creating the life that they want to live?
First one is that there is support out there. I remember when I got diagnosed, I thought I had to start from scratch, and that is not the case. There's so many supports out there that you can research on the internet, or like BetterHelp is one of them. Um, and NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, is a great one who has information on their website. And a bipolar kind of resource is the International Bipolar Foundation. I actually wrote a few blog posts for them, and they the content that they have there, especially if you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder, is great content that you're like, oh, someone will write about, say, delusions or psychosis, and it's most of the time those stories are spot on, and I've known a lot of individuals who have related to their stories. And the second would be, write down your dreams, write down where you'd like to be in 5 years, 10 years, and know that you're the only one that holds that pencil dictating what you can do, what you want to do. And from there, just start like researching, asking individuals, what they might, what they advise you to do. Join something like LinkedIn or Facebook, or email random people. That's what I did. I ended up writing about my story and emailed like 5 people to see if they could publish my story, and I got one person who emailed me back. So that kind of leads me into the third one, that there's I never believe that anything is out of bounds, basically. Like when it comes to a diagnosis, it's a diagnosis. It's like a, I don't know if I would call it a foundation, but it's a place to start. You have therapy, you have medication that'll kind of come into play, and it'll make you kind of, stable. And from there, you just kind of work it out to the point where you develop a life that you want. And I think depending on therapy and medication is great. It's definitely things that will help. But I think something that no one else tells you is that the inner work is where it's at. Like no matter what you can do, like, exercising or researching or educating yourself on what it is like to live with your condition is something that is so beneficial. I don't think anyone told me that, you have to do the work yourself. And I think that's the best advice that I can give. And it's not just that, it's that you can do the work yourself and you still can have the support around you. It's not like you're doing it by yourself. It's just like, it's like you're writing your own story, and you have other people looking at it, supporting you along the way. So yeah.
Ooh, spell check, grammar check, all that. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I love these tips that you've shared with people, because during the mental health journey, nobody fucking told me that. No, nobody at some point pulled me aside and was like, hey, you're going to have to work a little bit at this. Like therapy can only take you so far, medication can only take you so far. So thank you so much for being very real about that. So many people in the chat have said, thank you so much for your candor. This is great advice. You are awesome. So thank you so much for everything you have shared today. Is there any last minute sprinkles that you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap it up today?
Yeah, so if you're on Instagram, you can follow me on weekday mental health, and I'm on LinkedIn with Susan Gadegone. So if you want to connect with me or subscribe to my newsletter or follow me, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about everything you've been doing, and the LinkedIn lives, they're good. So make sure you there's notifications and stuff. So make sure you subscribe or get a link because they're good. And she really goes in depth on what mental health journey looks like. And your advocacy is just, it's everything that I want to see in the space of mental health. So thank you so much for sharing today. For everyone
Thank you.
who's listening, regardless of if you have a mental health condition, illness, whatever you call it, please know that this is the life that you have been given and you deserve it. You don't have to earn it. And if you need help pushing forward, you have two people in front of you right now who are rooting for you 100%. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, keep saying absolutely not to anything unaligned. But we'll see you next time. Bye.